guys, it's April. Book Buddy A Thon was absolutely amazing. It is sadly over. I did a Book Buddy A Thon TBR if you want to check that out, and my buddy was Shala at Shaegeeksout. I know I said that I may attempt to vlog the experience. I got a grand total of 2 days into Book Buddy A Thon before all of that broke apart endlessly. So that was the first fail of Book Buddy A Thon. It was crazy and it was wonderful, and I don't know how things happened the way they happened, but they did. 'Cause all of this, plus all of the digital ones that I can't hold in my hands right now. All the books that I mentioned in my TBR list, I did end up reading, plus there was this extra special one that got slid right inside the TBR because me and Shayla didn't want to do just one buddy read. We decided we needed to do 2 because we're crazy. One of the challenges for Book Buddy A Thon was to read a book with your buddy's favorite color on the cover. Shayla's was yellow, so I chose Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. This was a really good book about how to put your work out there, how to get feedback, and how to grow your audience. This just steps through putting your work out there, how to deal with feedback, what to ignore and what not to ignore, and keeping your eyes and minds open about creating a community around the thing that you love. But like I said, things went a little weird for this Book Buddy A Thon, so I didn't want to read just one book in Shayla's favorite color. I decided I needed to do a second book as well, and that is Cinderella, that is illustrated by Camille Rose Garcia, because her illustration style is absolutely amazing. When you're reading a fairy tale and then you get things like this, you can't help but just be in awe and wonder, and I really love the illustrations throughout this. It was a little difficult to read on some of the pages because of the way they chose to lay out the story and random quotes and text and put the illustrations together. It didn't always follow the same rule throughout the page, so I sometimes found myself going back and rereading the page because the sentences and things were completely out of order and made absolutely no sense. The second challenge was to read a book that started with the first letter of your buddy's name. So Shayla starts with S, so I picked up Snow White. I couldn't just read one of these beautifully illustrated editions. I had to read both of the ones that I currently own because I just got them and they're pretty. This one is just as beautifully done. It is absolutely amazing and I loved it, but I did have some of the same issues with this one as I did with Cinderella. There was just some weird design choices that I just didn't understand, but that of course didn't hinder me from completely enjoying this book, and the illustrations, and my little childhood fairy tale heart just loved it so much. So much. Another challenge for this read-a-thon was to have your buddy from a list of books that you wanted to read pick out a book that they thought you should read. And from that list, Shayla chose A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. This is the next book in the series after Darker Shade of Magic, in which we get to see more of Lila and Kel and Rai and all of those wonderful characters that we met. We get to see this game centered around magic, where each of the neighboring kingdoms and lands brings in some of their top magic users, and then they just duel it out. Lila is Lila, there are pirates, there of course is magic, and then there's some lovey-dovey stuff going on, which I may or may not have freaked out a little bit about. I'm really glad that Shayla chose this book because I was dragging my feet on picking it up, but now that I have done it, I may have just died a little bit inside when it finally ended, and now of course I need more. Then there was a challenge just to read whatever the heck you want. And here I went a little crazy. I decided that I was going to read the next in the Across the Universe series by Beth Reed, which is A Million Suns. This, of course, continues on the story, so I don't want to put a lot of spoilers out there and tell you a lot about it because some things happen. I really enjoyed the first book, and so when this Buddy A Thon came along, I'm like, I'm going to read A Million Suns. And if things go really crazy, I'm gonna read Shades of Earth. Well, guess what? Things were really crazy, and I completed out this trilogy with Shades of Earth. And guys, the things that happen in this series. This is a sci-fi series in which Earth has sent out a ship to another planet so they can colonize and expand and use resources, but it's going to take the ship 300 years to get there. They cryogenically freeze several people from Earth so that when they get there, the scientists and everyone else who is needed to make this new society would be there. At the same time, there were people on the ship to keep things going for those 300 years, so several generations are going to be living just on this ship. Something goes wrong and people get woken up a little bit earlier. The sci-fi, the technology, the story, the dystopian kind of feel that this whole series had, it was wonderful. It felt like a mix of Twilight Zone, Doctor Who, and pretty much any kind of sci-fi show that you used to watch late at night and things just went really, really trippy. I really liked it, as you can tell of me sliding in Shades of Earth into this Read-A-Thon. I wouldn't have done it any other way. But of course, I didn't stop there for choosing a book that I just wanted to read because I could. And I threw in Spook Show 6 by Tim McGregor. This, of course, continues on the whole Spook Show series with Billy Culpepper and her ability to see ghosts. Here we get to learn a little more backstory about Billy's family and some other side characters like Gantry. They just become more human and more personable in a way, even though some of them are really not someone that you would want to have dinner with. I did enjoy it. There was, of course, the side story with the ghost that Billy was dealing with. I wanted that story to be filled out a little more than it was, and I wanted a little bit more creep, but I understand that when you're filling in backstory, I know sometimes that has to take a side seat while you fill out stuff for later things, if that just makes any sense whatsoever. As always, I love these stories. They always make me smile, and half boy. And of course, the whole point of Book Buddy A Thon was to do a buddy read with your buddy. Shayla and I decided that we wanted to read Sweetly by Jackson Pierce, and it is a Hansel and Gretel retelling. And it is so well done. Hansel and Gretchen are brother and sister. Gretchen had a twin sister, but when they were younger, they went out into the woods to find the witch, and she was lost. So fast forward into the future where they are now legally adults and their stepmother has kicked them out of the house. So they are just trying to find themselves and where they should be. They end up in this small little town at this candy shop, and they just start living again. Things are happening that are very weird and may or may not be connected to the disappearance of their sister. The fact that this story is connected to Sisters Red blew my mind a little bit when I saw it starting to happen. I hadn't realized that there was gonna be some connections like that. I picked up that yes, they were probably going to be set up in the same universe, but the fact that they're connected, I wasn't ready for, and I really enjoyed it. The characters in this story, the way that the Hansel and Gretel story were flushed out, modernized, and then thrown into this universe that Jackson Pierce has started to create. I really enjoyed it, and of course, I will be picking up all other books in this universe. And then the book that just happened because it happened, yeah, A Court of Mist and Fury. I had told Shayla a while back that yes, this book was on its way. Unfortunately, it took a while to get to me, and so we hadn't put it on the TBR for this Book Buddy A Thon. This was going to be our original buddy pick, but because it didn't show up, we're like, well, we'll just get to it later this month. It showed up about Tuesday, Wednesday-ish, I don't even remember anymore, all the days are just blurred together in my brain. And we're like, well, we already finished Sweetly, why not throw this one into it? And we did! This book is a honker. I'm not sure why we agreed to throw this into the Read-A-Thon, but I'm okay with it. This is the next book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series, where if you have read the first one, you know how things end, and it takes off from where that book ends. We get to see more of Farah and Rise and Tomlin and all of that Fae realm and the bigger picture of the war that is coming and whether or not Farah can help stop it. This one is a little bit of a Hades and Persephone retelling. It is loosely, extremely loosely based on that. There is a lot of liberties taken with that kind of retelling, kind of like the first book and the Beauty and the Beast aspects with the Eros and Psyches and a little bit of the East and the West retelling as well. I did enjoy this book. This did not feel anything like a YA book at all. I was kind of expecting it, especially when you get 20 pages in and things start to get extremely non-YA. There are some points in this book where things get very graphic. April was blushing. I did enjoy the twists and turns this story took. Some of it felt like it was too coincidental. It was laid out too nicely and you could see how this was going to benefit the people you wanted it to benefit in the end. It did feel a little fan fiction-y like the first book did, even more so. Sometimes I was reading and wondering if maybe there was too much in this volume, but at the same time I know a lot of it was for backstory development and things like that. I will be continuing on in this series. That's, yeah, is the thing. So those were the 9 books that I decided to read for the Book Buddy A-Thon. I think my brain is just gonna crash for the rest of this weekend, and then maybe I'll reboot on Monday and start reading again. Did you join Book Buddy A-Thon? If so, how did it go? Let me know down below, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.